Boom! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the early regulars, the ER crew who's in the building. Let me make this a little closer. I am closer. That's in the building early. Spook Realm 4Q, you are first in the building again. You might be 6 weeks straight or something, not really sure. Uh, PSA, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. Get the book. The link is in the description below. It's the true origin story of BDP. Y'all know the drill. This is for people that's new to the channel. I'm assuming that everybody who's a regular has read the book. I'm going to assume that. 2, hit the like button when you get a chance. It helps the algorithm. Shout out to Tracy, who always reminds us to hit the like button so we can get more like-minded people in the chat. And last but not least, big up to the mighty Rewind crew. And if you haven't got your shirts yet, get your shirts. It has the logo. You always say I do it backwards, but for me, it's right there. The Kenny Parker Show shirts. Get a shirt. Join the fam. Okay, we all good. I need another sip today. We're in the middle of August. It's all good. Let's see. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. B-Ball Jones and what up? Rod Justice, what up? Abel Valdez, peace, Kenny. Do you use Chat GBT by any chance? Very rarely. I might have used Chat GPT maybe 3 times. Rarely. I don't even really know how to use it that well. Rod Justice says RIP Columbia House. Wow, Columbia House. Does that still exist? Gregory Nettis, what up? Abel Valdez says, hopefully Kenny reads my comments this week. I've left 3 comments in the past 3 weeks and he hasn't read them or shouted me out. Kenny doesn't love me no more. Just kidding. Peace, bro, to the fair. I have not seen any of your comments, but as you guys know, I miss a lot of comments as I fall behind, and I try to catch up by scrolling down. I might jump 50 comments, so your comments might be in there. Also, this program, sometimes it jumps comments. Guess it'd be like, you know what? We're just going to self-regulate and just jumps down. So I miss people's comments, but Abel Valdez, you know it's all good. You are a regular and an early regular, so always love there. Spook Realm, happy 57th birthday to Pasta Noose. Wow, I got to reach out to Pas and give him a happy birthday shout out. Rod Justice, today I was looking at MCM and thinking about how ugly it is. Remember people had Jeeps, whole Jeeps made out of MCM interior? I always thought it was ugly, but I wore it because it was the thing. Kenny, have you ever worn something trendy you thought was whack? Oh, wow. I'd have to think about that. Don't know if I wore something that I thought was whack. I'd have to think about that. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say no. No, off the top of my head, I'm going to say yes. I just don't remember what it was. But I'm pretty sure I wore something just because it was trending. But I probably wore it once or twice and threw it somewhere. Pretty sure. I'd have to go back and think about that. That's a great question. Uh, Uh, Gregory Ness says in 2003 we had the biggest blackout in New York. Here in Queens, New York, I went to play basketball and a blackout happened. Me and my friends got home safe in the dark. Um, that 2003 blackout, I remember those blackouts. That wasn't like 77, bro. I don't care about any other blackout. To me, there's only one blackout in New York, 1977. That blackout changed the game. KP, any channel live stories? I've told a bunch of them on this channel. Shout out to Hakeem Green. Shout out to Tuffy. I've told a bunch over the years. I mean, we've toured with their BDP members, BDP crew members. Um, so I've produced songs with Hakeem, chilled with him many times. Uh, he stayed in my crib. So many stories with Channel. I'd have to think of a good one, but so many. Um, D8, D8X. I can never get. There's a lot of. I'm just gonna call you D8. Need a KP and KRS album called Parker Brothers. Probably get sued, but that would be dope. Parker Brothers, the game, will definitely step up. Same way Smith and Wesson got sued and had to change their name to the Cocoa Brothers. Remember that? And they didn't even spell it like Smith and Wesson spelled it, but still got sued. I believe Tony Stark got in trouble too for using that. Got to be really careful about that. Riding Dirty Face, what up? Silk Child, what's good, KP? Much love, bro. You already know. Hit the like, share, support a brother. Saw your brother on Talib Kweli new podcast. Let me ask you this. Yeah, I saw a clip of it, of one thing he was talking about. Um, I'd have to watch the whole thing. I haven't had a chance to watch it. MMA says, I got the shirt. Thank you so much, MMA. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Rakim, peace. Rid One, what up? Hip hop was not designed to be mainstream. Oh, Dartmouth, wasn't you who was trying to connect me with Chuck? Tell Chuck I'm down to do it. Let's go. I'll do Chuck's podcast. I believe it was you, Dartmouth. If it wasn't you, sorry. Hip hop was not designed to be mainstream. I would say it was not. Hip hop's original form was designed to be something to do, to have fun, peace, unity, love, and having fun. It was something to do out in the streets when there was nothing to do in the early 70s, mid 70s. So hip hop's actual design was for the community to have something to do. And from that, it exploded when rap became rap, the rap part of hip hop became commercialized through making records, and he was able to sell that version of hip hop. Then it became mainstream, but it was not designed to be mainstream. I would agree with that. Although I'm not mad at hip hop going mainstream for the most part. I think hip hop had a level. And then anything past that, I think it watered it down. So there's a fine line between being available to the masses, making money, uh, uh, creating stars, expressing yourself, videos playing, uh, feeding your families. There's a fine line between that and taking it to the point where it gets watered down and it gets further and further away from the essence. Bobby W2, what up? Crazy J, what up? DJ Q Storm, what up? JT, a lot of the regulars in here. Icon Post, I'm a fat bastard, so they never make any of that fashion stuff in my size. Well, you had to go get it specially made. All that MCM and Gucci and Louis stuff that all of the rappers and drug dealers had back in the day, that was custom made. Them BDP suits were like $2,000 each. and Chris was getting them for like the whole crew. $2,000 in the '80s is probably like 6,000 now each. I myself had at least 3 BDP suits, but they were all custom made. Shout out to Dapper Dan. Shout out, he was made a lot of them. Shout out to the other designers up in Harlem, mostly where you can get them. Uh, let's see. Avarex jackets. I never had an Avarex jacket or an 8 ball jacket. Never had any of that stuff. T. Dyson, what up? Patrick White says that 77 Blackout can almost be one of the founding blocks to hip hop. Yeah, Kaz talked about how, and I remember this, how after the historic looting that happened during the blackout, the weeks following that, you could purchase almost anything that you wanted for a fraction of the price out in the streets. And a lot of musical equipment that was beyond the reach of most hip hop artists of the time was now available in the black market: turntables, mixers, speakers, microphones. And Cass talked about how a lot of guys who did not have systems, because if you didn't have your own sound system, you were not a real crew. You couldn't be a crew unless you had a system that you could bring out in the park that was your system. And so quite a few crews were born based on the black market that was created from the blackout. Um, what There was a piece that I was gonna put, I had in my book, but then I took it out, was how I was able to get a bike a few days after the blackout, a 10 speed, for $15. It's a long story. I had it in the book, but I took it out. There's a long story behind that. Um, Maybe one day, if we do a book chat part 3, I'll talk about a couple more things that was supposed to be in the book but wasn't. But that was one of them, because there was a whole story behind that blackout. And I talk about the blackout extensively in the book. The link is in the description below, because it affected my family tremendously. But that was another part of it that I didn't talk about. But yeah, everything was for sale after that. Everything. D8, thank you again. Rap is supposed to be revolutionary. We in there. Well, rap didn't become revolutionary. Well, the concept of hip hop is revolutionary. It's an answer to the mainstream turning their backs on the youth. The mainstream and the elders turned their back on a whole chunk of youth who had nothing to do. Some of them joined gangs. Some of them did other things, but a lot of them, no, a handful of them started this thing we call hip hop. So the concept of hip hop is revolutionary, but rap music wasn't really revolutionary until The Message, in my opinion, the greatest rap song of all time to me. Um, So I don't know if it's supposed to be, because to me, rap music is a variety of things. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be get the party started. It's supposed to be a place where you can battle so that we can see who's the nicest. You say you're nice, and he says he's nice. Well, let's see. It's a place for that. It's a place for everybody to get together. It's a place for styles to come out, and it's a place to be revolutionary. So I don't know. I don't know. The word supposed is bothering me, but um, I don't know. This is my opinion. That KRS One lyric rap supposed to be revolutionary. I don't remember KRS lyric that said that, but that's his opinion. My opinion is it's supposed to be a few things, and it is a few things. Now it's less diverse. It's more of like one or two things, but that's just my opinion. Uh, and then the algorithm just jumped me down. Cocoa Brothers was whack. Glad they got their name back. I didn't love Cocoa Brothers either. I didn't love that name. Pablo says should have gone with Tech and Steel. I agree. I would have liked Tech and Steel better than Cocoa Brothers. I don't know where they got that from, but I agree. The first time you met Marley Marl was the beef in full swing. What was that like? Well, if you get the book, you'd get the whole story from beginning to end. My version of it. But to answer your question, the first time I met Marley Marl was in the 90s. Beef was long over by the time I met Marley Marl. Matter of fact, the first time I saw Marley Marl was when South Bronx was out, before the bridges over. I saw him outside of Union Square. And I tell you a quick story. I don't think I've ever told this story ever. We was with the BDP crew was at Latin Quarter. This is when Latin Quarter and Union Square was open at the same time. Union Square was number one, and Latin Quarters was number two. They both were there, but Union Square was a little over the quarters at that point. And BDP was, I believe, had a show at Latin Quarters, which I went to. And afterwards, everybody was like, "Let's go to." It was still time. Let's go to Union Square. So we left from the quarters. The quarters was on 42nd, 47th Street, and Union Square is on 14th Street. So we went from 47th to Union Square. We got to the door. It was late. It had to be like 3 o'clock in the morning. And we all went to the doors, a bunch of us, and they was like, we're not letting everybody in. They only let in KRS, D Nice. Not even sure if Scott was with us. But a few of us was outside, so we was just chilling. And Chris was like, I'm only gonna be in there for a little while. So they went in and they came out, and D Nice was out, was like, yo, keep in mind, D Nice at this point, he's 15 years old. He had to be a buck 30 soaking wet. 15, he was in the clubs. Should have been in school. Anyway, um, he comes out and I see D Nice and he's like, yo, I saw Marley Marl in the club. And I was like, what happened? This is when South Bronx was rocking. And I was like, what happened? And he said, I walked up to him and I said in his face, I said, yo, the bridge is over. And said like that to Marley. And I was like, well, what did he say? And Marley just looked at me and he was like, man, I don't care. Oh, now keep in mind, D Nice was real hot headed back in the day. And like I said, he's 15 years old, a buck 30, walking up on a grown man saying the bridge is over. This is before the song came out. So Marley probably didn't even know what he was talking about. I'm assuming Marley knew he was with BDP, but he didn't know what the bridge is over meant. But Derek said it to Marley, and Marley said, I don't care. And then a little while later, they was like, there he go right there. Marley Marl came out of Union Square and he just walked off. So I remember seeing him, but that was it. I didn't meet him until at least 5 years, 6 years later. And he was very nice to me, very cool. I am very cool with Marley Marl. A pioneer in hip hop sound as we know it, a pioneer in sampling, a pioneer in engineering, a pioneer in producing, a game changer. and a pretty cool guy with me anyway. But yes, to answer the question, but there's more detail in the book. But that story, I just thought about it just now. And you said, when's the first time I saw Marley? That was it. D Nice talking shit to him. KP, platform is KP. I was watching your bro on Talib Kweli show. He talked about the 50th anniversary hip hop show at Yankee Stadium. At first, he didn't want to do it because of the massive ticket prices. Nas and Fat Joe changed his mind. I've heard Chris say that. Actually, I've talked to Chris about that. I believe, I'm not gonna say I believe it's true. It's true if he said it, but I've heard that before. Ross Mill says same thing happened to Common with a lawsuit. I didn't know Common got sued. Uh, Let me jump down a little bit. Uh, have you met the last poets? One of them. I went to a Common show when the B album was out, and he had that song "The Corner," and he performed. First of all, Common's show is dope. By the way, if you guys get a chance to check out a Common show, it's dope. But I got to see him at the peak of his popularity is when he had the B album produced by Kanye West. He was on fire at that moment, and that song "The Corner," he performed at SOBs, and the last poets, the one who speaks on the song, Pandemonium, that guy was there, and he was outside, and I saw him, and I said, "How you doing?" And I just said, "What's up?" And he said, "What's up?" He didn't know me from Adam. He was just a young guy, younger than him. I wasn't that young, but just showing him love. But yes, I met that guy. Uh, Beyond the Matrix. That's right, KP. New York City was a mess in the 70s. Yes, was the worst city. And hip hop gave us good vibes when we were struggling in the hood. Yes, I remember the block parties uptown as a kid. I missed those days. Yeah, me too. Even though the violence, every block party and every event is going to end in some kind of violence at the end of the night, which is whack. But before the violence, it was an amazing, amazing time. Uh, what a time to be a kid in the 70s and 80s. In the midst of New York being the crime capital of America, it looked like Vietnam, some parts of it, and the city was bankrupt and scary. But in the midst of that, you can have a lot of fun in New York, and especially when hip hop was being formed, it was so exciting. It's like every week something new was happening that was unbelievable. I still feel like a kid. I say this all the time. When I see some of these guys, like the guys that's on my wall, and some of these other guys, when I see them in real life, I still feel like a kid. Like, wow, man, that's so and so right there. Can't believe it. D8 says Talib Kweli soft as melted butter in July. I don't know if he's soft, man. I've met Talib on many occasions. He seems cool to me. Um, I don't know if he's soft or not. Maybe you know something I don't know. Um, Shout out to Qualib. Shout out to the Mighty Most. Yassine Bey. Shout out to DJ High Tech, the whole crew. Uh, DJ Q Storm just snatched up a shirt. Thank you so much, Q Storm. Appreciate it. Welcome to the family. There's family and there's extra family if you got a shirt. Uh, what if I told you LeBron has changed his mind and is leaving the Sixers to take his talents to Manhattan to join the New York Knicks this fall? First of all, I don't even know if that's possible. They've already made the schedule. That would be a disaster. Um, And I don't think that would be good for the Knicks. How far behind am I? Falling deeply behind. KP, you guys have any of those Dapper Dan suits, or is just my philosophy hat? Did you Dapper Dan make that? Yeah, he made that whole suit. I believe BDP was the first group. BDP is the first in so many things, y'all. I just gotta big up. Not because I'm biased, but just saying. BDP did so many things first, man. But I believe BDP is the first to wear a Dapper Dan suit on the cover of an album, which Criminal Minded, those were Dapper Dan suits Chris and Scott had. And then the By All Means Necessary album was a Dapper Dan suit. It was a whole suit. Like, I still have the hat, but that's the hat from the whole suit. And there's like 8 people had those suits in the crew. But I think the Fat Boys had Dapper Dan suits too, and they might have beat us. I gotta see some of those early. I don't remember the early Fat Boys albums covers, but I know they had Dapper Dan suits, and even the cover of that Crush Groove album, with I think everybody's on there. They might have had a Dapper Dan suit on then. If that's '85, if so, they did beat BDP. If not, '87, we was the first because Eric B. and Rakim album dropped a month after BDP. But yeah, those were the suits. Hey, KP, did you hear Ice-T new album, Criminal Migraine? No. It's not streaming, only available through his site because he wanted to get 100% of the profits. It's a double album. No, I did not hear it. But shout out to the great Ice-T, a legendary hip-hop artist, a great friend of BDP, and a guy who he pimped the game and became a multimillionaire. He won. He won the game. Um, Shout out to Hen G and Evil E. Shout out to Africa Islam. Shout out to Darlene. JT says, line up the book, Cat Chat KP. We're ready. For a third, if y'all ready for a third, we could talk about it some more for those who didn't get a chance to ask the questions in the first. We have 2. I hope everybody who has the book saw the first 2 book chats that we did a couple months back. If you guys want to do a third one, I will. If enough people say yeah, we will do one. Um, KP, do you still have the unreleased parts of the book? Well, some of it I still have, like in the drafts. Some of it is just in my mind, things that I knew that was in the book that I either took out or didn't put in. Like that story about the bike is a whole story. Oh, we got another Shizad. Icon Poet, thank you so much. My first concert ever was the Fat Boys, Heavy D, Dana Dane, Salt and Pepper in the Omni in Atlanta back in '87. Those were the days. That was a fat show. The ticket was probably $20. Even by today's standards, $20 in '87 is probably like $60 or $70 now. It's probably like 3 times, I think. It's probably like $60 now. $60, you couldn't get one group. To get all of those top groups, man, we had it good, man. How many people do I know on this bill? The Fat Boys, I'm cool with. I used to see Rest in Peace Prince Marky D all the time in the clubs. He was very nice to me. Another person I was shocked to ever get to see in real life. And Cool Rock Ski, I met the same day that I met Super Rhymes, and I got to talk to him for an hour. So I got to meet the Fat Boys, which that's the first album rap album I ever bought with my own money was the Fat Boys album because of Can You Feel It? I am the human being by heart. That record was banging. Caused me to buy the whole album, and it was dope. Let's see, Heavy D is my man. I've been fortunate enough to DJ for Heavy D for a second. If you guys check out the BDP Live Hardcore Worldwide, there's a part where Heavy D jumps on the stage. Chris is doing a reggae session. It's KRS and Jamal, and Heavy D just came out of nowhere and jumped on the stage and killed it. And I was DJing, and so I got a chance to DJ for Heavy D. And the funny part was, as I'm DJing, if you guys get a chance to check it out, Heavy D is rocking. I believe he says, "Come down, Kenny Parker, I love you more than cooked food." And as he was rocking, I was mixing him down. A young Fife dog is right next to me, but you can't see him. He's in the shadow, and he's going, "I want to get on. I want to get on." And I was like, "It's not up to me." He was right there. Shout out to Rest in Peace to Fife and Heavy D. Of course, Dana Dane is my man too. Shout out to Dana Dane. I need to get him on the channel. Um, Out of these four people I just named, the Fat Boys was three, Heavy D and Dana Dane, that's five. Only two of them are still here, which is crazy. Salt and Pepper, I do not know at all. But that's a dope show, Icon Poet. Uh, CMC, what up? Bobby says BDP gear $2,000. That was a lot of money back then. That's a lot of money now. $2,000 for a suit to rock once or twice in a video. 2 G's is, I know from where I sit, $2,000 is a lot of money right now in 2026. You can do a lot. You can do a lot of things with 2 G's. Back in 88, 87, that was ridiculous amounts of money, bro. Wow, Peace KP, Power Soul, finally caught alive. Welcome. I'm Rewind Crew all day, though. Thank you. I live in the Junction. Philip Howard Apartments between Avenue I and H on Flatbush in those condos. I used to be in the Junction all the time. There's a comic book store on East 37th and Flatbush. So that's like a couple blocks past the Junction. Me and Chris used to walk there. It's about 2.5 miles from our house. We used to live on East 35th in Church. We used to walk to that comic book store when we was kids up by the Junction, so we had to pass the Junction. I'm very familiar with the Junction. And there's a bus that leaves from the Junction that takes you out to Reese Beach. I got a couple wild stories about going out to Reese Beach when I was like 13. Me and my boys used to ride out there on that bus at the Junction in the summertime. Big up Flatbush, where I spent most of my life. You just brought back memories when you said the Junction, my dude. Umar bin Hassan, Last Poets. That's his name. That's the guy that I met. Bobby says, I watched the Love's Gonna Get You video again. The message still relevant to this day. Sadly, yes. Spook says, rumor mill says Shine is going to drop a new album with Dr. Dre. If Dre could get it out. Bobby W. KP, we need another tunnel story. Well, I assume that means you saw my epic fails, the tunnel. I have so many. I was in the tunnel every other week. I told the story about almost getting trampled by Onyx in there the day that DMX shot the video. I think I told y'all that. And the epic fail, I told y'all why I stopped hanging out. Trying to think if there's ever a good tunnel. I got a good one, but I'm saving it for our epic win. Matter of fact, I'm gonna shoot another for the Win episode this week, and I got a few for the Win stories that I think you guys are gonna love. I just have to sit down and record them. And then one of them is a story revolving around a tunnel, so I don't want to say that. I'm trying to think of a good tunnel story. We performed that tunnel too. It was ridiculous crowd. The line was all the way down the block around the corner. And I tell you a story about the tunnel that I wasn't there, but I heard about it. BDP did KRS BDP did the tunnel twice. The second time was when Step Into a World was out. When Step Into a World was out, we was everywhere. We was on fire. That's when I said the tunnel was packed to the rim, and we bodied in there. But the first time Chris did the tunnel was probably 95, 90, like 95. I wasn't there. So this is around the time of MCs Act Like They Don't Know, I think, or something. And I think what happened was right before Chris came on, Puffy and Biggie, not Biggie, it was just Puffy and Bad Boys. So it must have been the Locks. Somebody, Puffy came on, and I believe the Benjamins was out. Now keep in mind, y'all, the Benjamins was a massive New York City hit for almost a year before it officially came out. The original Benjamins just had Puffy and the Locks, and it ended. There was no Biggie, there was no Little Kim. That part that goes, it's all about the Benjamins, baby. None of that was on the record. It was just a beat, and it was a promo. It was like a promo and a bootleg. And it was the biggest record in New York, and it wasn't coming out for a year. It was probably the biggest record I ever saw in the tunnel, or one of the top two or three. Anyway, Puffy and them came on with Flex and destroyed the tunnel. I heard. I can imagine because the Benjamins would destroy without them. With them there, I can't even imagine. Ripped it down. And then afterwards, KRS jumped on the mic. And I remember Will was telling me this. I wasn't there. He was like, Chris jumps on and he goes into a song. I don't know what he was doing, either was talking or for something. And some girl in the crowd said, get off the stage. We don't want to hear that. To KRS, really loud and clear. And Chris turned to her and said something to the point of, relax, girl, you need to learn some respect and learn about real culture. Learn some consciousness, learn about where you come from. You're a queen. He said something like that in a KRS fashion, and the whole place started clapping. And he like diffused the whole thing because apparently this girl, she wanted to hear Versace songs, the Benjamins, let's pour some champagne and let's get it popping. And Chris is coming up there talking some consciousness. And she didn't want to hear it. But when she said it, it could have been like, yeah, get off the stage. It could have been that in the tunnel, because the tunnel was like Sodom and Gomorrah in there. But the way Chris diffused her about learn some culture too, and some intelligence and some consciousness in the midst of what you're doing, and everybody felt his presence. And Will was like, he really like got the whole tunnel on his side once he said that. Now I wasn't there, but I heard this story. Chris will probably remember it better. And that's the first time I ever told this story, but I just remembered it just now. Um, but I got tons of tunnel stories. And I got another Puffy story like that too, but I'll save it for another time unless you guys want to hear the KRS Puffy story in that same vein. But let me move on. But yeah, um, I spent a lot of time in the tunnel, man. especially before it got thugged out. Before it got thugged out, it was dope. What do you think about all the craziness in music today? Well, that's a vague comment because craziness is, of course, there's like 6 or 7 things you could be talking about. Overall, I'm going to say disappointing. Icon says, soft or not, Quali is a dope MC. I will concur. Patrick Wise says, extra, extra family if you got a shirt, a book, and a rant medallion. Well, there's only one rant medallion. That's this BDP rant medallion. I got this in 19, what year did I get this? 91? So this is what, 35 years old? Back when the medallions were popping. This is dope. This is really some good crafting. But now this is the rant medallion. When I put this on, I'm really hot. Haven't worn it in a while. I be trying not to have rants, y'all. Uh, anyway. Lindell says, KP, is that riding around the city? It's not so hot tonight. Just left my parents checking in. It's a little humid in my crib. I got the AC on. Let me move down a little bit. I hope this isn't true, but hearing Luca may not necessarily want to stay in LA long term after the ownership change. I don't know if that's true. First of all, I mean, he probably was cool with the ownership. They just changed ownerships 3 times since he been there. I don't know. I think winning changes all things. I have not heard this. I have to investigate a little more, but I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know about that. I have to see about that. Hopefully not. I hope he stays there a while. Bobby W. BDP did do a lot first. If I made a list of all the things that I think BDP pioneered, it would be a lot. Um, or what is this? China Doll, Cynthia, what's up? I didn't see this. So sorry to hear that. Definitely seeing too much of it nowadays. It's shifted from our parents to people we went to school with. Gotta live this life to the fullest. Somebody passed, Cynthia? I'm not seeing, I have so many comments here, I can't really see it, but um, oh, here we go. I appreciate the check-in. 3 funerals and a wedding in the last few weeks. Life has been lifing as is. 3 funerals. Jeez. Cynthia, so sorry to hear that. My goodness. That's a lot. Um, who was the first to rock one of those Pan Africa medallions? I'm not sure. Um, I know De La was early. X Clan? Chuck might have had one. I gotta look at Fight the Power. He might have had something on in Fight the Power. If not Chuck in Fight the Power, then I'm going X Clan. But I don't know for sure. DA, listen, I listen to Sex and Violence Daily. Do you get royalties? Yeah. Um, I have 5 songs on that album, so yeah. Um, Robert Troll says book chat. Yes, sir. That's 2 for the book. Um, let's see. Let me jump down a little bit. If you could pick any 5 hip hop albums or songs from artists, past or present, male, female groups to be remixed, what would those be? Well, you're talking about any 5 that I would love, I wouldn't remix them. I would leave them. I think some things should be left alone. So anything that I would pick For me to say I would pick something to be remixed would mean I think the music should be changed. Meaning I like the vocals, but I think the music should be different. So since I'm not going to disrespect anybody, um, I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm pretty sure I can answer that question, but I'm not. I'm going to choose not to disrespect anybody's um, music and leave that. I'm going to leave that one alone. Philly Sheep, Shorty Swing My Way, Prince Market D was my ish. It wasn't your ish. That was my ish. Whatever you say you like that song, not more than me. I love that song, especially he remixed it with the was it Outstanding beat? Because there's the original version, which I loved, and he remixed it. Dope record, dope message. Should have been bigger, that song. Um, KP, did you ever meet Curtis Blow? Few times. Shout out to the great Curtis Blow. Any Beastie Boys stories? No. We did shows with Beastie Boys. We did when Step Into a World was out. We did a couple of giant arena shows with the Beastie Boys. We did one show in Long Island, 30,000. It was in a coliseum where the hockey team play, but they took out the seats because there were so many people. They took out the seats and it was standing room only on the seats. And it was Beastie Boys, KRS-One. And we went, it was so many people. When it was, you had an arena rock is different because you got to rock down here, but also up there. And it was sold out to the rafters. And I remember LL was there in the crowd chilling. I saw L um, step into a world, body that whole arena, yo. You know when you could tell when Step Into a World is they know it? Because it's not just the chorus. When he says, I'm not saying I'm number one. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. When he goes, I'm number one, two, three, four, and five, and you see the whole crowd, that's like the rhyme. And then when Chris first said that rhyme to me, I laughed my ass off. For those that have saw my epic fails, uh, I got next. You'll see what I'm talking about. But whenever you see the crowd goes one, two, three, four, and five, that means you know they know the song. And the whole Nassau Coliseum was singing that record. That was a big record. I got in an argument, not an argument, I got disrespected by somebody in the comments section a couple of weeks ago when I said that Step Into a World is KRS-One's biggest song, radio song of his career. And somebody in the comments section was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Sound of the Police is bigger than Step Into a World. And what do I know? And I personally, I don't claim to know everything, but I know a lot about BDP. And I was there in real time for the whole Sound of the Police run. Matter of fact, outside of KRS-One, I have done more for Sound of the Police than anybody because A, that was originally Heather B's song. So the original version of that song I produced 2 years before it came out on Return of the Boom Bap. That never came out. Then Chris did it and made it the classic that it is. And then I did the remix of Sound of the Police. So I know that song very well. I was at the video shoot and I did the whole run with that song. And I did the whole run with Step Into a World. I was in the studio when that song was recorded. And I'm telling you that Step Into a World was KRS-One's biggest song. Now, over the years, Sound of the Police has, I believe it's been in a few movies and on some video games or something. And I believe over the years, it has now become probably his most recognized song. Sound of the Police, for the newer generation, that is probably KRS One's signature song now. And I would say Step Into a World is second today. But overall, Step Into a World is his biggest song. But some dude was dissing me online. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, bro, I seen these records in real time. Anyway, I'm so far behind y'all that it doesn't. Does it even make sense to try to catch up? Isaiah, KP, any Houdini stories? Not really. I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I didn't really know them like that. I met Jalil once. I used to see Ecstasy out and about. Just hello. I didn't really know him. Grandmaster D, if you please, that's my man from Flatbush. So big up Grandmaster D. That's my man. I saw him at the 50th anniversary concert that Chris block party that Chris did. Um, I know Slick Rick is from another country. What country is Dana Dane from? I believe Dana Dane is from the country of Fort Greene, Brooklyn. That accent that he uses is not really his accent. Um, KP, do you remember Sneaker Corner on Avenue U? No, I didn't really. I wasn't really around Avenue U that much. Back when I was growing up, Avenue U was where a lot of black people couldn't really go there. I mean, you could go to King's Plaza, which is up on Avenue U, but anywhere outside, if you go too far in any direction, you would have problems. So I wasn't really up on Avenue U that much. I'm gonna do an early Benny Doyle scroll down in a minute because I'm behind, but let me. This is interesting, Divine. Peace, KP. Spider-Man No Way Home hit 2 billion in 3 weeks. Y'all think it's the second fastest ever. This movie is a juggernaut. Doomsday pre-ticket sales have outpaced Spidey's pre-sales by 60%. That's unbelievable. Don't sleep on the Russo brothers MCU track record. New trail is crazy. Yeah, I think that Spider-Man's success is fueling also Avengers Doomsday too, because a lot of people are feeling like Marvel is back and it's giving you a good feeling that this Avengers might be dope. Like they finally came back to their roots. And the trail is crazy. Um, Spider-Man, first of all, they're about to put out Avengers Endgame with extended version in the movie theaters again. So they're trying to make that the number one movie of all time. That's about to come out in a month. But Spider-Man is gonna probably be second when the run is done. But this Doomsday is gonna be crazy. Crazy. I'm excited. That's the kind of stuff that makes me feel like a little kid. Power Soul said the original Benjamins had Puff, Jada, and Chic Luch. It was on a Bad Boy mixtape. Yeah. Then they made a promotional vinyl, and there's only a handful of them, and they gave them out to DJs. Then they had a bootleg. It was red. They used to sell it in Rock and Soul. That's what I had. That record was, I can't, it was the biggest record in New York for 8 months. Then it came out and went platinum. KP, you need to get Shinehead on here. I would love to. Don't know him at all. I met him, but don't know him. Um, let's see. Quali is a confirmed pest and a creep who abuses women. He should stick to the gossip videos before he gets snuffed again. I don't know about him getting snuffed. I have no idea what that's about. I don't know if he abuses women. Don't know. Only thing I know about Talib is his music. That's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. If I knew something more, I probably would say something, but I don't know his personal life. If he abuses women, um, that would be horrific. Any Mob Deep stories? No. Don't know Havoc. Don't know Prodigy. I don't hardly know anybody from Queensbridge except for, that's a lie. The early people from the bridge I've met, like Shantae is cool, super cool, and Marley I said is cool, and Shan has even been nice to me when I seen him in person. Um, those guys I'm cool with. I think Tragedy is from Queensbridge. He's cool. I'm cool with Trage. That's the older guys. The second wave of Queensbridge, I don't know none of them. Not, I've met Nas, but I can't say I know him. Don't know Mob Deep at all. Don't know Cormega. Met Nature. He was cool. Is he from Queensbridge? Um, yeah, that's it. Can't say that I do. Corey Flex says Keefe D will be found not guilty. You heard it here first. Boy, it's gonna be really hard to beat his confession. And it's not only, he wrote a book and confessed, he got on TV and confessed, but he could say all of that was just hype to sell product. And the jury may or may not believe that. But he confessed to the police in a plea deal where if he got caught lying, he would go to jail. So part of his plea deal to be the drug cases, he confessed to being in that car. If you were in that car, you are going to jail. And he confessed to that. That's going to be really difficult. Let's see. Nevada Fisher says, I totally respect you wanting to keep the vibe upbeat, but you dropped important knowledge in your rants I feel some people need to hear. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes my rants, even though I try to keep it upbeat, I try to give you all the real of the behind the scenes of what goes on in the music business. And sometimes my rants come from things that trigger me. It's like you guys will say something and it brings out these rants. Like I don't intend to do the rants. It just happens. Um, but from time to time, if something comes up where I feel passionate about it, the music business always gets me. It always gets me excited. Certain things. Luke is probably right not to want to stay. It's about to get ugly in LA with these venture capitalist owners. They're vultures that just want the dividends, not to build a legacy. Mostly all of them are vultures, though. The owners of Dallas Mavericks who traded him because they didn't want to pay him, they're no different. All of them. Dr. Buss, who originally bought the Lakers years ago, I believe that he was really into the team. I think Mark Cuban was really into the team. You think Dolan is not a capitalist, venture capitalist owner? Um, Kenny P, what about It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp from the motion picture Hustle? I never saw Hustle and Flow, but I'm not sure what you mean about what about. D. Nizzy, the National Association of Black Journalists gave Stephen A. the thumbs down award. I saw that. They were talking about his consistent disrespect of black women. Um, and they got together and voted to diss him, and he is not happy. As you know, I am not a fan of Stephen A on this channel. I am not a fan at all. Haven't been for a long time. So, yo, KP, are you gonna check out Avengers Doomsday? Are you kidding me, CMC? Are you kidding me right now? I will be in there, front row. Any Rob Bass stories? No. I used to see Rob Bass a couple times. I didn't really know him like that. DA, what you and Karis think of Kool Keith's Sex Style album? Well, I can't comment on what KRS thinks, but I haven't heard it. Kool Keith has so much music. I haven't heard a lot of it, but I think Kool Keith when he was with Ultra was dope. Um, I have not heard it, so I can't comment. I'd have to leave it at that. Uh, Patrick White, KP, who would you want to direct the Parker Brothers life story? Me. I think I could do it. I've never directed a movie. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I would need to have somebody who knows how to direct a movie as my assistant to get me through the technical parts and the lingo. But I think I can do it. I think I know the story. Obviously, I know the story, and I wish if I had my way, I think I can make, in my opinion, the dopest hip hop movie ever. If I had my way of how I would present it to the screen. And based on the movies that I've seen, I think I would like to do it. KP wasn't a big Larry G fan at first. No, I wasn't. It wasn't that I wasn't a fan. I was skeptical. Um, let's see. People says, KP, you ain't popping if you ain't got a few haters. Yeah. And when I do beef videos, when I get like a lot of casual fans, they all come for the beef videos. There's a lot of wild comments in there. I've been threatened and all kind of stuff over my opinion, over telling a story. Deacon Strange, Yo KP, what if there was one fashion style you would love to see come back, what would it be? I would love to see cats rocking ski goggles on their hats. Oh wow. The historical black college hoodies. Remember those? I had like 10 of them. I would love to see that come back. That would be so controversial in today's climate. But yeah. Benny Dog, Kenny Parker, B-Ball Trivia. What planet was Chocolate Thunder Daryl Dawkins from? Lovetron? He had so many aliases. I'm going to say Lovetron. Could be wrong. Uh, oh, wow. All things Daryl D. Kenny, about 6 months ago, I finally got a vinyl copy of the BDP album with you and Chris on the cover. Thank you so much. It's an incredible album. The beats are fantastic. It's a super rare record to find. Thank you so much. That was originally meant to be a mixtape that turned into an album. I did it back in 2000. Well, we did it in 2011. We did it in 2010. 2010 and 11, we recorded the songs, and it came out in 2012. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I didn't know it was hard to rare record. It was an independent, but um, I got a couple copies here. Explicit Hip Hop, what up? I was at the Black Journalist Conference dinner, wow, hype style, where Stephen Smith got called out for being messy. It was a wild evening, but a good convention. Stephen A. Smith has been one of the most successful hip sports commentators ever, but I am just not a fan, man. KP Dana Dane is Panamanian. Well, look at that. I thought he was from Fort Greene. I guess he's not. I did not know that. Do you have any more Kanye West stories? I wonder how the night would have ended without his fake Jesus. Yeah, those for those that saw my For the Win, the very first uh installment. I came out like 2 weeks ago. A lot of people didn't see that. Please check that out. Um, talk about going to the Kanye West concert. No, I don't have that many Kanye West stories. I've mentioned that I saw him and Chris speak back in '08 at the BET Awards show. And they just spoke a few years ago. Well, it's like 5 years ago. Uh, Kanye was looking, Kanye was looking to do a step into Sound of the Police, sample Sound of the Police, and he was looking to get permission from Chris to use some vocals or something, and nobody could get in contact with him. But people from Def Jam got in contact with me, and I was able to make the connect, and then they spoke. But outside of that, no Kanye West stories. Um, I'm not that far behind. People say some people come on here with access to grind. Absolutely. But that's just in general. Yo, KP, what did you think of the Ruckus Records era when it started? I thought it was dope. I thought it was like a great place for underground artists to get a real chance. Um, because most underground or independent labels don't have the distribution or the money behind them to really give the push that a smaller artist needs to be heard nationwide. But Ruckus did a really good job of getting the underground artists that they signed to the audience that wanted to hear them. And they even had gold selling acts. Most Def's first album went gold. For to be on Ruckus Records and to go gold is spectacular. Um, I'm pretty sure they probably had a couple more, but I know Most Def went gold on Ruckus Records. I was very excited about that. First time I met Most Def was there was a place called Tramps that used to do a lot of concerts back in the mid '90s. I saw the Fugees there right when the score was first blowing up. I remember they performed there, and Wyclef was like, "I'd like." This is when the record with Roberta Flack was first blowing up. It wasn't even a single yet. And I remember Wyclef going, I want to thank everybody for making the score go gold. It just went gold, and everybody was cheering. Keep in mind, the album ended up selling 17 million copies, but at this point, it was gold, and it was a big deal. So it was that new. But a lot of groups performed there, and of course, BDP was there. But this one week, it was Tribe Called Quest. It was going to be their last show. Um, There was going to be their last. They was retiring. It was the last show, and then like 3 days later, BDP was going to be there, same place. So of course, when Tribe is performing, I gotta go. I went, and I believe, if I'm correct, um, what's my man? Oh, I hate when I forget people's names of people I know very well. Spinner. DJ Spinner was DJing, if I recall. And I remember one of the people who was hosting it was like, Kenny, could you go out there and introduce the groups? There was like 5 groups going first. So I came out on stage like, what's up? I'm Kenny Parker from BDP. People was like, oh. I was like, we got this groups coming on. I named groups. And I said, somebody said Most Def is in the building. Everybody went, ah. I was like, wow. I said to Mike, I was like, wow, like y'all really feeling Most Def. And Spinner played their new song called Definition. And I remember it went, Lord of Mercy, and the beat from the P is Free Criminal Minded came on. I was like, oh, that's dope. And they was going 1, 2, 3, Most Def and Talib Kweli. And I was like, oh, that shit is dope. So dope that I ran over to Spinner and I was like, what record is this? And he's like, this is Most Def's new record, him and Talib Kweli. But they were called, I forgot what they was called then. And so I was like, yo, this record is so dope. And he's like, here, he gave it to me. He was like, I got an extra one. He gave me the record. So I had the record. And then I remember Most Def came on stage and he introduced Tribe Called Quest. So now the next day I run to Chris and I'm like, yo, Chris, you gotta hear this record. They did your record over. So I put it on. 1, 2, 3, Most Def and Quali, and the beat, and he was like, oh, this is dope. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do the P is Free. We're gonna use that record on Friday. I was like, dope. So now when we did our show, and when the P is Free, I threw on the Most Def record, and he rocked over it. Uh, Grab your dick and what? Not grab your dick. That's Biggie. If you love hip hop, y'all know how it goes. The girlies are free if the crack costs money, and so we did it over that beat. So as I was leaving, and I met Most Def the night before. So as I was leaving, I was outside, and these guys walked up to me, and they was like, "Yo, thank you for throwing on our record." And I was like, "What do you mean our record?" He's like, I'm Talib Kweli. Y'all played our record, and Chris rhymed over it. I was like, oh, you're the other guy that rhymes with Most Def. And I was like, nice to meet you. Great record. And he was like, thank you. And that's how I first met Most Def and Kweli. That was Raucous. That was my introduction to Raucous. I'm pretty sure they had records out before that, but my introduction was Most Def and Kweli. That was a very long-winded story, but that's how I met Most Def, and then we've been cool ever since. I haven't seen him in a long time, but shout out to Yassine Bey. Um, Ruckus had a moment. Bobby WKP, were you or BDP ever amazed at an audience you didn't expect to know your music? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Europe, their enthusiasm for album cuts is surprising. Like, when you do song, we got a bunch, KRS's catalog is big, so we got a bunch of records that were singles that people know. You do them, and it's great. But every so often, like, you'll throw on an album cut, and you get a little reaction. Most of the time, people are hearing it for the first time, but in Europe, they know every word to every song. So, like some random song, you throw it on, and they be like, ah, and you be like, oh shit, y'all know number eight. That always surprised me. Well, in the beginning, now it doesn't surprise me. Um, I'm pretty sure if you have the book, you'll know the first time that I saw KRS perform in an arena on a Dope Jam tour, I was very surprised by the reaction to BDP outside of New York. Uh, DA said they asked Freddie Fox, "What is your biggest mistake of your career?" in an interview, and he said, "Probably not breaking Leo Cohen's jaw when I had the opportunity to." Wow. Shout out to Bumpy Knuckles. That's crazy. Rosmel says, "Nature is from the bridge." Ah, okay. Donald McCall, any Biz Markie or Coogee rap stories? I've said so many bit. You got to get the book, Donald McCall. Got to. I can't even go into it. You got to. And I have an epic fails on this channel called The Juice Crew, Epic Fails. I have a whole G rap story in there. You guys, for those that's new to the channel, go back a couple years on this channel and just watch this. I have a whole bunch of videos. My Epic Fail series is 25 videos. Just go back and watch. I talk about a lot of this stuff. I do a whole breakdown. Uh, Corey Flex says, Kenny, there's more evidence that Keefe D is a liar than he is an ender. Probably, but the prosecution believes they have enough evidence to bring him to trial because it's not just what he said, it's the other evidence. It's what other people said. It's the fact that they found physical evidence in his possession. So it's not just a he say, she say. It's more than that. He could have been lying. One of these times he was lying because now he's going to say, I was just talking to sell books. So one of these times he's lying. So the question is going to be, which one does the jury believe is the truth? Um, we need a KP rant. Get the medallion ready. Oh, man. The new Laker owner also owns the Dodgers. No, Red One, the guy who owns the Dodgers just sold it. He just bought the Lakers 8 months ago, and he just sold it to a Kushner and the guy who used to run Iger, who used to run Disney. He just bought the Lakers. That's why it's so suspicious. If Keefe D is not found guilty, there will be a travesty. Not every street dude is some kind of righteous revolutionary or something. Some of them are just thugs and knuckleheads. First of all, most street dudes are thugs and knuckleheads, in my opinion. Um, but Keefe D has the right to a fair trial, and he is innocent until proven guilty, and the state has to prove that he did it. But I'll tell you this, if whatever, this is the last Tupac trial, I believe. Whatever happens after this is the end of the story. If he's not guilty, then there'll never be justice for Pac. And if he is guilty, then this is it. I don't know if it's a travesty. If he wasn't in the car, he wasn't in the car, and he's lying to try to be the man in the streets. But if he was in that car, he's guilty. It's pretty much as simple as that. Was he in the car or not? T. Dyson, Kenny, the Mavs owners knew Luka couldn't get them to the promised land. He had a drinking problem. A drinking problem. I disagree with that. A weight problem, yes. And he gassed out in those finals games. Young Harden had to go. I disagree with Young Harden too. Um, it's a matter of opinion. First of all, how do you know he couldn't take you to the promised land when y'all were just in the finals? A team that got to the finals has every chance of winning it all. You don't break that team up, you run it back. Now, Luka's weight problems, sure, he had a weight problem. That was a major concern. Was a major concern because he looks fantastic now. He looks like the size he was as a rookie. But it remains to be seen. You can't say anything in sports you know. You don't know anything. No one knows. You suspect based on things that happened in the past. You suspect this is what's going to happen in the future, but you don't know. A drinking problem? There's been no evidence that Luka had a drinking problem. And a young Harden, based on what Luka has done in the playoffs, I would consider that a disrespectful statement. We got a lot of chats that I'm missing. Wow. I'm sorry. Let me jump on these chats. Silk Child, thank you so much. Your name shouldn't be Willie. It should be Billy. All type of S curl laugh. That stuck in my head for some reason because it was hilarious. First of all, you had to be there. Whatever way I'm describing it to you is not funnier than being there and seeing it in real time. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, Willie D was a very flamboyant member of BDP and a real street dude. And the only person that could really get on him, I could get on him too, because that was my man, but the only person that could really push Will's buttons was Chris. And Chris will say stuff to him like, Will, you are everything that my music is not. Do you even listen to my songs? Look at your outfit. Look at your hair. You're not Willie D. You're Billy D. Oh man, and Will was so mad. I was in tears. This is just one of bunches of times that Chris would go at him. Why you fucking with me, man? Leave me alone. Why you fucking with me, man? So yes, Silk Child, whatever way I'm telling it to you is not funnier than seeing KRS say it. And I always say this for those that don't know KRS. Most people don't know him, and you see him in interviews and stuff, and he's one away. But to be around him, he is really funny, man. He's like a real comedian when you know him, like, you know, not in teacher mode. KRS-One is serious. He's in teacher mode and he's a MC. But Chris Parker is hilarious, yo. Really quick wit. And if you don't go right at him, like there's times if you catch him slipping, you gotta get him, because if you don't, and he catch you slipping, he's gonna rip you. And it's really funny. Things he say are really funny. I could tell y'all he's gotten me a few times, ripped me over things. I would love to remember something that was really funny that he used to get on me all the time about. He used to get on me all the time about hanging out too much. Sometimes he'd be serious and be like, "You hang out too much," and he was right. But other times he would make jokes about some of the people I used to hang out with. This is funny. I'm not gonna say the people's names, but it was really funny, y'all. Um, KB Play. I've said this before and I'll stand on it. There's no way the Criminal Minded album isn't at least platinum. No way it's not certified. That's two separate conversations. Certified, you get certified by the Recording Industry of America. And to be certified means um, that you shipped, not sold, shipped more than 500,000 copies would make you gold, and more than 1 million makes you platinum. And when I say by shipped, means this is how it works. A record company sends your album out to a distributor or several distributors, but let's go one distributor who then sends it out to different record stores. So it goes from the record company, presses them up, they give it to a distributor, they sell it to a distributor, and then he takes it and then sells it to the record store. So when you ship, what you're trying to do when you ship is figure out how many of these we can sell. So let's say you think you can sell 500,000 gold. So you go to the distributor and you say, I would like to sell you 500,000 of these because we think the market requires 500,000. They'll take it and they'll sell it to the stores. Now the stores have something like, I think it's 9 months, 6 to 9 months to return records that don't sell back to the distributor, which who then in return sells it, gives it back to you at a loss because the distributor doesn't pay you right away. So if you ship 500,000, but you only sell 450,000, that means you're going to get 50,000 back and they're not going to pay you for them. So they come back to you in a bunch. These are called returns. So what you're trying to do is not get that many returns. So there's a formula. You're trying to get it as close as possible. Now, sometimes you can get returns from one region, but you don't have enough in another region. So let's say you didn't really sell a lot on the West Coast and you get returns from the West Coast. You could take those returns and ship it to the East Coast because they still need more. So sometimes you can just ship those returns. So that works out for you. But a lot of times you get returns and you cannot sell them and you have to end up destroying them or they melt them down and make other records out of them. So sometimes you can ship gold, I'm gonna use gold, 500,000, but get 100,000 returns. So that means you didn't really sell gold, you really sold 400,000, but because you shipped over, you'll get certified and you'll get one of these plaques. It's for records shipped, not sold. Okay, remember that. So now, Criminal Minded was an independent album. So independent that they were actually pressing them up themselves and shipping it to stores and distributors through UPS, practically UPS. And then, so there was no real accounting of how many records really got sold. And they lied to Chris and Scott, and it was basically telling them we didn't hardly sell any records. Meanwhile, they had the biggest records in the street. They were telling me it wasn't even moving. So B-Boy Records sold Criminal Minded a box at a time for 30 years. How many years has it been? We're approaching 40 years. But somewhere around 25 years ago, there was auditing done and lawsuits and this and that. And B-Boy Records had to kind of come clean. And they kind of admitted, not in court, but they admitted to Chris that over the years, they have sold 3 million copies of Criminal Minded worldwide, which means at least half of that is probably, at least probably 2 million of that is probably in America, which would make that album double platinum. But it was never part of the recording industry of America's system because it was all bootleg, basically. So they admitted to selling 3 million copies, 3 million, which means they probably made $30 million. Chris and Scott got zero. Now, what they did do was at least admit that it is gold in America. And B-Boy Records, they were trying to make amends with Chris after like 25 years, and I remember this. And they made Chris a plaque, like one of these plaques. This plaque back here is a compilation of like 10 years of KRS on Jive. But a regular plaque has one album on it. And I did a Epic Fails plaques. You guys got to watch it so you can find the story of how I got this plaque. It's pretty funny. But they gave KRS a plaque saying that Criminal Minded was at least gold. They admitted to that. It at least sold 500,000 in America, enough for them to give Chris a plaque. But they really said, we really sold 3 million of them over the years. So you're saying there's no way Criminal Minded isn't platinum. By the mouths of the people who bootlegged it, it's beyond platinum. But technically, it is not in the recording industry of America like the other albums are. So, yes, to answer your question, you are correct. But you say, no way it's not certified. It is not certified. It can't be certified because it was never in the system, but it is platinum. I got 51 comments that I haven't seen yet. Oh, man. CMC, thank you so much. I would like to big up Grap Lover from INI on Chuck D's Channel Zero. Grap says new music is in the works. Have you met them, KP? I feel like I was in the studio. I feel like I was at Green Street Studios where Pete Rock used to work out of. I feel like I was there once, and either he was working on INI, this is back when he was producing them, or he was mixing. Not sure. I feel like I met somebody, one of the members of that group or that group. I feel like I did, but I'm not sure. But big up to them for coming out with new music. I'm going to say I'm not sure on that. Okay, let me jump back. I have 56 comments. And I'm super far behind. So we're about to get our first Benny Doyle scroll down. If you left a comment in the past 20 minutes, please leave the comments again because I am about to skip by it. Pharoah Monch went gold on Ruckus, but didn't clear the Godzilla sample for the single and got no money. That is correct. I mentioned it on this channel. Pharoah Monch told me that out his mouth, that they never cleared the sample, and the people who own Godzilla took not only the money from that album, but his future albums. It's crazy. The Bobby W says, KP, your stories are far more entertaining than most. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Bobby W. That is the purpose of the channel. Try to get my stories out here for people who are interested in them. Everybody's not interested. Spook says, as Tracy would say, get that like in, y'all. Yes, please hit the like button right now. Just hit it so it helps the algorithm. Big up Tracy. Cute pie. Hey. My Umi says, shine your light on the world. That was a great song. Great song. KP, you should have a radio show. That would be dope. Black Star is the name of the group. Yo, I would have never got that. I be having whole mental like fogs when it comes to people's names. Black Star. All right, I'm still far behind, so I'm going to jump down a little more. Like I said, if you left a comment in the past 20 minutes, please leave the comment again. Tupac wrongfully thought that he was invincible and he could just stomp out someone who was connected without any repercussions. I think Tupac and even guys who were in death row's camp um, have said this, that Tupac should have played the artist position and he got too much into the Pyru part, and that accelerated his death. Yeah, you can't just be stomping on people. But you see, they're trying to say there's more to the story because they're trying to say that Puff already had those guys looking for Pac. That's what Keefe D is trying to say. Puff already had them looking for Pac. And Pac stomping one of them gave them the perfect excuse to go get him. That's what I'm most curious to see in this Keefe D trial. Is he guilty and is Puff in it? Because he's trying to drag Puffy in it. So that's what I'm trying to hear about. Two, that's not being mentioned. Bobby W. Willie D stories are epic. Yes, I have so many. I don't know if there's anybody who spent more time with Will than I have in history. I've seen so many. Rest in peace to my man Will. He's not here anymore, but I say his name all the time on this channel because he was so vitally important to everything that was going on in BDP, and most people don't know who he is. Um, but there's so many funny stories with that dude. Plus, I knew him so well. Danelle LaDon Freeman, what up? I knew him so well that I could go at him too. We used to have a lot of he was very smart too. We used to have a lot of intellectual debates about rap, about life, streets, people. Sometimes we used to sit. I'm one time chilling with Will. I met him in the city and I sat in his car. I met him. We were just gonna kick it for a minute. It was about 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And we sat in his car and we just started talking. And we talked from 8 o'clock that night till 6 o'clock in the morning. We was just gonna talk for like an hour, a minute, just something quick, and we ended up talking all night, um, just about things and about life. I miss him a lot. And in this day and age of social media, he has story. He would have had to watch because he was with Chris from the very beginning, like before South Bronx came out. He was there for the whole thing, right in the midst. So he knows a lot of stuff, even stuff that I wasn't around for. And a lot of things, like I said in BDP, that I know I was not there. And I always say on this channel, if I didn't see it with my own two eyes, or I didn't get it from a reliable source, one person removed, anything after that to me is a rumor. And I don't really like to even talk about it if I didn't see it or a reliable source. But when it comes to BDP, not only did I see a lot of it, but I got a lot of stuff from KRS-One's mouth, which is the most reliable source. And I got a lot of stuff from Will, a very reliable source who was there. So I have a pretty good grasp on a lot of things that happen in the group. That's why when people say stuff and I be like, nah, it didn't really happen like that. And people be trying to argue me down. Like, dude, how you gonna argue me down, bro? I was there. Anyway, um, How far behind am I? Still super far behind. Red One says KP got a red cup from Bob Lazar. Why you want to go down the UFO rabbit hole, man? There's rabbit holes we can go down that's really don't do it, man. That's a rabbit hole that I would love to go down. So don't do it to me, man. Brooklyn Geek said they admitted to 3 million, so it probably was double. Actually, yeah, because there's no real way to prove it. B-Boy Records sold that album, licensed it to all kind of different distributors. They made a whole life, and they own the publishing. They raped Kristen Scott so bad. I shouldn't use that word. I might get flagged. So bad. Kristen Scott lost tens of millions of dollars messing with those guys. They were young and they signed a bad deal. But it is what it is. You're right. For them to admit 3 million, if the Criminal Minded album master tapes can be reacquired by Chris, then licensed to Def Jam or Sony, then we can help set the record straight for the true financial accountability. Yeah, but all the money that's lost is lost. Just in publishing. And they're never going to give up the master recordings. Never. You see, the other day, not the other day, like 3 years ago, Kanye West sampled South Bronx without permission. And he's being sued for $2 million. KRS isn't suing him. B-Boy Records is suing him. They had zero to do with that, making that record, but they own the master recording and the publisher, and they're suing. The publishing on Criminal Minded album, I can name 4 platinum albums, multi-platinum, that you sampled that album, right off the top of my head. Not that far behind. I'm kind of caught up, y'all. Oh, thank you, CMC, for reminding me. We're way deep into overtime. Anything after 9:30 is considered overtime. I lost track of the time. Um, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. We are in OT. Criminal Minded is streaming now. Wow. So who's getting paid? B-Boy Records. Whoever their family, I don't know if all of them are still alive, but whoever the family members are, still getting a check. It ain't KRS. Pharaoh single-handedly killed Walkus. Yeah, that sample, they sued and won. That sample clearance cost them everything, yeah. T. Dyson, Kenny, Luca had a beer snatched out of his hand on live TV. That's because after the game, I remember after the game, he was drinking a beer and they walked up on him and they wanted to take a picture. And one of the team executives took the beer can out of his hand so that they can take the flick. That wouldn't have been dope to take a flick with somebody with a beer can in your hand. So they took the beer can out of his hand. And the Mavs said he had a drinking problem. The Mavs said a whole bunch of things about Luka on his way out to justify that trade. It was a crazy smear campaign. He did not have a drinking problem. He definitely didn't take care of his body, but he didn't have a drinking problem. He didn't go to rehab or anything like that. He went straight from Dallas to the Lakers and played the whole rest of the season and the playoffs. So that's a smear campaign. And whatever he had then Look at him now. You don't trade away a guy who averages 34, 8, and 8. No way. No way, Jose. Um, any MC Hammer stories? No. I have never met Hammer. He was serious though. Um, Keefe D. Keefe D need to go to jail. Had the nerve to write a book. Writing a book is not a criminal offense, y'all. He does not need to go to jail because he wrote a book. But if writing that book lands him in jail, that would be one of the dumbest things ever. He really didn't understand the law. I don't know if his lawyer explained to him that immunity in one state doesn't mean you have immunity in another state. He should have stayed in LA and never moved to Vegas. Um, that book was not a good idea. But then again, he could just say it was a book and it was all a lie. Just like people say in their records, I'm just making records for entertainment. If they prove Keefe D was in that car, he is done, y'all. Patrick Wise says Tupac was his own worst enemy. He should have done acting full time and rapping part time. Too talented to be hanging out with guys with no futures. But you got to understand, they got him out of jail. He was rotting in jail, rotting. Even the record company didn't want him. He had the #1 album. He's the first artist, I believe, to have a #1 album in the country in jail. Dear Mama was a massive, massive hit record. He was sitting in a prison cell with the #1 album in America. Suge bailed him out for $1 million. So it's sit in jail with those guys with no future, or come out and get down with these guys who just got out of jail. I mean, you got to take your chances with death row. Now, did he have to become did he have to become a gang member to be part of the clique? I don't know. I wasn't around them like that. Who knows? But Tupac had a pattern, because you got to understand, the guys that he hung out with in New York, probably among the most dangerous dudes in the city at the time, is the cause of what happened to him in New York the first time. Him ended up almost being ended and doing jail time. That's him hanging with the royal crowd in the big first time. And he got warned. Stay away from them. According to according to interviews out of people's mouths, Biggie tried to warn him, and Mike Tyson, two guys from Brooklyn, tried to warn him, you're hanging with these Brooklyn dudes, you don't really understand who you're hanging with. They tried to tell him, and Pac wouldn't listen. So he was his own man, and he was an incredible figure, but that wasn't even the wake-up call. He came out and doubled down on that same behavior. You only got a couple times to roll that dice, man, before you strike out. Tupac rolled the dice a lot of times, man. But he was only 24. All of this happened between the ages of like 21 and 24, most of this stuff. He was young. And he went from being homeless and a roadie for Digital Underground to a superstar. How many of us at 21, 22 years old would have acted a goddamn fool had we had the same opportunity? When I was 21, 22, I was in the club with them. The hell was I doing in there? Every place where these guys were in New York, I was there every week. I wasn't Tupac. I wasn't on no level of Tupac. I was even the biggest person in my own crew. And I was outside acting a damn fool. I wasn't, gang banging or nothing, but I was out there. So I understand to an extent the temptations that Tupac faced. And it would have been great if somebody mentored him who he would have listened to. But he didn't listen. And it ended up, we ended up losing a great artist before his time. But he was on a collision course. With his behavior, it was just a matter of time. To me, sadly. China Doll, I met Tupac in the tunnel. First of all, what were you doing in the tunnel? I didn't see you in there. He bumped into me and profusely apologized. He said he didn't want any trouble, any more trouble. That is a funny story, Cynthia. Oh, what year was that? Oh man, I could talk about Tupac all day. Keefe D writing a book was just as dumb as OJ writing a book. It could be dumber because OJ was acquitted, not guilty, or acquitted or not guilty. I'm not sure which one it is of his charges. So he cannot be tried again for the same crime. And then OJ's book was the hypothetical. If I did it, this is how I would have did it, or something. He was talking about a person, not himself, but he was talking like in third person in OJ's book. That was a stupid ass book. But it's not, to me, it's not as dumb as Keefe D writing a book when he still could be charged. That is worse, Patrick Y. I don't know what they offered him. And when you get offered a book deal, the publishers push you to say something controversial to sell a book. We need some meat in this book. What better than I was in the car? I was one of the four guys in the car the night, and he described everything in detail. The leading up to it, riding around, looking for him, just missing him, what happened, who had the gun, what did they say? He described the whole thing in vivid detail. He was wilding. Brooklyn Geek says, Chando, I know a lot of females that met and worked with Tupac, and they all speak highly of him, and their eyes all gloss over. Yeah, man. The ladies loved Pac. We're in overtime, y'all. Actually, normally, in overtime, I scroll all the way down to the bottom, so I think I'm gonna do that right now. Cutie Pie says, some people think Tupac is still alive. I did for a long time. And I thought like what was it, the 7-day Illuminati theory or whatever that was. I thought in 7 years he was gonna come back. I remember Chuck D posted this 25 reasons why Tupac is still alive when he first passed, and it was so convincing. And I said, if he doesn't return in 7 years, then he's gone. I really thought for 7 years he was gonna return. and he didn't. So I think he's going now. I'm liking this Tupac conversation. Um, but yeah, I'm liking this Tupac conversation, but it's towards the end. So I don't want, we're in OT, y'all. I can listen to your stories for hours. Thank you, cutie pie. Brooke D says, damn, I thought we had KP in his cup because he ate peep OT earlier. Yeah, I was slipping. We're in OT. We're in OT. Uh, Kenny Parker, silence trivia. What state was Clarice Starling from? Oh, wow. West Virginia. No, 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 no. No, they found the girl's body in West Virginia. Where was the Lambs? She went to live with her. When her father passed, she went to live with the people with the Lambs. Ah, you might have me, Benny Doyle. My first reaction was West Virginia, but it's not West Virginia. Oh man. No. Because Dr. Lecter says, and that accent you have, pure West Virginian, right? That's what he said, right? He was trying to hide the accent. I'm going West Virginia. Could be wrong. B-Boy Records got Scott ended too. Is that true? I don't believe that. That's said G's theory. I find that hard to believe. Mike Finley took the beer from Luca. Yes. What's worse is that it's not like Walkers didn't know. Farrell told them the samples. Yep. Somebody didn't do their job and cost the label millions. Your volume keeps going in and out. Really? I'm looking at my volume here and it looks, I can see, I don't know. I'm sorry if that's true. That's because I've been on too long. OJ wrote a book, yeah, and most publishers wouldn't put it out. It was just too wild, man. Keefe D said he didn't write it, it was ghostwritten. Of course it was ghostwritten, Keefe D. Of course it was. But what you do is you tell your book, you tell your story to a writer, and they put it in book form. He still wrote it. Keefe D said a lot on podcasts. That too. Hey, Boogie says, salute KP. Becky Hammond just got ejected in the first half. That means it must not be going well for Las Vegas. Becky Hammond is my favorite WNBA player of all time. Interscope dog Tupac. He was too much trouble. You got to imagine, Tupac had mad cases pending. That's why he didn't have no money when he passed away. Also because he was signed to death row, but he had mad cases pending. You know, he got into the a firearm thing with the two officers. He had the assault charge with the Hughes brothers and some other things pending. And then he got the charges that sent him to jail and he got shot. They was like, you know what? This guy's too much trouble. Nobody wanted to touch him. Um, it's a shame. DA said Pac was in jail for assault. He was no hero. Yeah, but he's saying that he didn't do it. Apparently, It's 10 o'clock, y'all. We're in double overtime talking about Pac. Apparently, the girl came, and I watched her interview too. She came to see Pac at the hotel room, and other people were there. He had co-defendants in this trial, and he's the only one that went to jail. Other people were there, and she went into the room with Pac, and other guys came in the room and assaulted her. And she was mad because Pac didn't stop it. Pac said he went out, he left the room and went and laid down on the couch to the morning, something like this. It's not exactly it, but something like that. Pac is saying he wasn't even in the room. He left. He don't know what happened. But she's saying Pac basically allowed these other guys to assault her. So if it was just Pac, she was cool, but it was the other guys. So they all were in this case together, but he's the one that got charged. No, I mean, he's the one that got convicted. Now, he lost the case. So you're saying he was no hero, but he went, he served his time and got out. And how long did he live after that? Another year? I could see where you're coming from, but there seems to be a lot more to that story. Benny Dore, Kenny, grab your softball bat. What did Hannibal Lecter eat the census liver with? A Chianti, a nice Chianti, and some fava beans, right? And a nice Chianti. Um, any digital underground stories? Once again, Bobby W, you gotta watch the videos on this channel. Epic fails West Coast. Um, Pac was 5 feet tall, 100 pounds soaking wet. He went to acting school. He wasn't in any position to go around acting hard. Now, Pac was taller than that. He wasn't 5 feet, 100 pounds. Pac was taller than that, and he was strong. Pac was in great shape, as we all saw. His shirt was off every 2 seconds. Pac. And first of all, don't judge people by their size. You got to judge them by their heart. But and he was with a mad monster crew. The death row crew was dangerous. Um, and sometimes but he did a lot of extra stuff like beating up the Hughes brothers, and he did a lot of extra stuff, man. That whole Sam Snead story, go check that out. He took it to the extreme. It's unfortunate. Keefe D might be the dumbest black man over 40 years old. Oh, man. That was not a good move for his part, bro. Can't say I was sad when I heard OJ passed. I was not tore up about it. Keefe D can't even read. How you write a book? Wow, y'all just killing Keefe D on here. Let me scroll all the way to the bottom. There's so many good comments here. I don't want to. I don't want to. Everybody's saying the volume is good, so thank you. Um, DH Scott, I wouldn't watch the WNBA if they paid me actual stacks of cash. Vlad is taking no accountability. He's just excited his footage is being used in the case. Well, what accountability should he take? His job is to get the most out of the guests. And you got a guy who was in the car, who said he was in the car, who's telling you what happened. This is a case that's been unsolved for 30 years. The guy who says he's in the car is there and being interviewed by you. Vlad would have been irresponsible if he didn't try to get everything out of Keefe D. Yeah, tell us what happened. And what else happened? And what else happened? It was Keefe D who should have been like, yo, let me chill. I don't blame Vlad for that. Vlad could get blamed for a whole bunch of things, but I don't blame him for trying to get a story going. We're in double OT, y'all. We just talking. No disrespect. Someone would have eventually offed him. That's always been my that look like it's gonna be my sentiment. Um he was on a collision course with being gone. And he was close more than once. Rod Justice says, yeah, I turned the aces off. It looks like it's going to be the Dreams night. Yo, if the aces mess around, Asia Wilson may not win MVP coming down this stretch. Keep an eye on Olivia Miles, man. The aces better get some wins. Spook Realm says, say, Gal, why are you coming to the hotel? I believe Chris wrote that about Mike Tyson's story. I told y'all that Chris said he was there at the Mike when Mike Tyson got in all the trouble with them women. Chris and Chuck was at that convention. I ever told y'all that? Okay. Brooklyn Geek said Vlad isn't responsible. Shaking my head. The man wrote a damn book detailing the crime and went on Vlad to talk about his book. Stop blaming Vlad. Vlad is kind of silly. I agree with that. I'm not a big Vlad fan, but anybody who's any kind of podcaster, journalist, anybody, if this guy's gonna finally tell what happened, you gotta ask him. April 7th artwork, what up? KP, do you know when your brother started smoking since Amelia? And do you think it enhanced him as an MC? What is his connection to it? I don't know when he started smoking, probably. I'm gonna say like 18, my earliest recollection. I don't know. Did it enhance him as an MC? I don't know. I don't know. What is his connection to it? I don't know. That's a great question for Chris. I don't know if it enhanced him or not. How many innocent black men have been convicted of crimes only later to be revealed it was falsified evidence? Too many. Too many. An overwhelmingly disproportionate amount. Um, let's see. Pac snuffed Sam and Corrupt for associating with East Coast cats. Yep. For just associating with East Coast guys. Clarence Thomas is Uncle Ruckus. Facts. WNBA is starting to get like the NBA, too many three-point shots. Not as bad as the NBA, but I see what you're saying. Yeah. They get a fall guy for Tupac 30 years later, but no justice for Biggie. Well, you can't compare. The evidence is the evidence. Nobody from the Biggie situation is writing a book. If it wasn't for Keefe D, nobody would never know what happened. Not law enforcement. And you're saying he's the fall guy. Sidney Rose, if he was in that car, he is more than a fall guy. Robert Troller says he thinks immunity is like Section 8. Erica Badu at Alchemist on deck. Yup. I'm going to check that out. Olivia Miles is my girl. Miles, Rookie of the Year. She's beyond Rookie of the Year. Right now, I got Olivia Miles at second in MVP race as a rookie. And I didn't love her at Notre Dame. I thought she was too reckless with the ball. But nobody saw Olivia Miles playing like this. I'm shocked by her performance in the league. Shocked. But if the Vegas drops to fourth and Indiana moves up to third and Minnesota stays at one, Miles is really is a real good argument for her. We're in double OT. I'm gonna jump off in a minute. No, I've never heard you talk about Tyson. I don't know you talking about. I don't know Mike Tyson like that, so I don't talk about him. But I watch his interviews are fascinating. And talk about rants. He's had some of the great, if not the greatest sports rants of all time, easily. It never dawned on these people that they are mad at Vlad because of these detailed questions he asked, like if he had to be there. Who do you think fed him these questions to ask before the podcast begins? Well, he must have some researchers. Um, yeah, I think most of these big shows have researchers. They don't sit there and go through all these people's information. They get a brief summary. DA says weed has nothing to do with hip hop culture. All the early MCs were anti weed due to knowledge. Anti weed. When you mean early MCs, I guess you mean like the first wave to come through on record. I don't remember anybody being anti drug. First of all, so many people was on that white that they might have been anti-weed because it wasn't strong enough. The first anti-drug song I can remember that made it big was White Lines, which is ironic because all of them was on the white line. But anti-weed, I don't remember anti-weeds. There was some don't do drugs records, but I don't remember it being anti-weed. KRS One said in The Bridge Is Over, which came out late 86, I'm coming in the dance with the split for C, down with the sound called BDP. That was in 86. Chris was 21, he was saying that. First words out his mouth, I'm coming in the party with a spliff in my mouth. um, I'm trying to think. There was some early weed talk before Chris too. I gotta think about that. Anti-weed. Kenny, you're 20-0 in silence trivia, undefeated. I'm officially tapping out of Hannibal Lecter questions. Don't tap out, Benny Doyle. You might catch me out there, but that's my favorite movie of all time. Even though I had American Woman, not American Girl, I was thinking American Woman. I was wrong on the song that the young lady was singing when she got kidnapped by Buffalo Bill. Um, I could not remember that song. We're in OT, y'all. I'm about to really be out. I'm just loving this conversation. D needs to KP that down, that clown. Gene Deal said he saw the gangster Zip and 1 million check to Keefe D is for killing partner. Sure. Oh, I'm a clown. I saw that same interview. Um, and like I said, that I'm very interested to see. Just because Gene Deal said it doesn't mean it's true. In a court of law, it got to be more than yo. I saw somebody pass a check. It has to be something else going on. And since they're saying that Puff gave the check to some guy named Zip, and Zip never gave the Zip stole the money and never gave it to Keefe D. So because the check never got to Keefe D, it's going to be very hard to prove that Puff sent the check. And Zip is gone. Rest in peace. So you can't get his testimony. It's going to be very hard to prove that. But Keefe D is trying to say that. I've seen him say that in an interview, and I've seen Gene Deal say, but Gene Deal has said a whole bunch of things. So I don't know. A court of law is different than a podcast. You have to have evidence. That's why everything that can be proved or disproved hopefully will come out in this trial. And I hope Pop gets justice one way or the other. Patrick McLean says anti-weed BS. The early MCs were on blow. Crazy. First Pro said nobody was anti-weed. What dude talking about? I mean, we respect all opinions here on this channel. And I try to, break down everything and see where people are coming from. I just don't remember. I don't remember that vibe of anti-weed. If you can give some examples, and if you read Flash's book, you know that them dudes, Flash included in the Furious, a lot of the Furious Five was out there. Flash was so out there, he almost lost his life. And rest in peace to the great, my favorite MC from the Furious Five, Cowboy. He didn't make it. But anti-weed. Thank you, Tybo. Not true. Cold Crush smoked Chiba, and Run DMC kept a bag inside his locker. Yep. Keep a bag of Chiba inside my locker. Yep. That was 83. But he's saying the first MC, so you maybe before Run, like Cold Crush. But yeah, Run said he kept a bag of Chiba inside his locker. And he said he goes to school every day too, right? All right. I'm jumping off. Schoolie D was smoking Chiba Chiba. But this is early. He's saying early MCs. All right, I'm at the very bottom. And I'm out. I've been really enjoying this conversation, so I went just a little longer than normal We're in double OT. DA says, Just Say No by Young MC, 1989. You said the early MCs, and you talking 89. That's way. By 89, dudes was making all kind of records. Cutie Pie said, if you want to ride the white horse, yeah. The white powder records were all over the place. T. Dyson said, who were the big drug addicted MCs from the early 80s, Kenny? I don't know. I don't want to accuse anybody of that. All I know is in Flash's book, he said him and Cowboy. Cowboy lost his life, OD'd. Um, and you're saying the dudes were late? Dudes, you talking about late in the 80s. That's even a different story. Anti-weed, Busy B was telling the people in the audience, say cheaper. Do you know how many MCs were smoking Woolers? There were so many MCs referencing smoking weed. Yeah, that's what I remember. Smoke some kill, yeah. Both says Coca Rock, end of story. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. No. MC Shan was on that. Yeah, he admitted it. He said Marley Marl introduced him. Curtis Blow, yeah. All right, I'm out. Let me make sure I got all the chats in. I do. This has been the Kenny Parker Show. We went a little deep. I'm gonna try to stay abreast of this Tupac situation as it comes out. I didn't see the opening arguments, but I don't want to be the channel that this is my opinion of the Tupac trial. Everybody's gonna be doing that. But I do find it interesting though. If you don't have a shirt, get a shirt, by the way. The link is in the description below. God willing, I will see you guys on Friday. The Blastmaster's birthday is coming up in a couple days too. All right. Peace, y'all.